What if the most important battlefield in the world right now is not on the ocean, not in the sky, and not even in outer space, but inside the servers, labs, and data centers powering artificial intelligence? That is the question shaking Washington this week after the White House accused China of carrying out industrial-scale theft of AI technology, according to reporting tied to the Financial Times and Reuters coverage. And if that sounds dramatic, that's because it is. This is not just about one stolen file, one hacked account, or one bad actor. The allegation is much bigger, that China is using a mix of legal purchases, smuggling networks, cyber theft, and model copying tactics to close the gap with American AI leaders. And in the middle of this showdown sits the biggest prize of the 21st century, artificial intelligence. Why AI matters. To understand why this story is exploding right now, you first have to understand what AI really represents. AI is not just chatbots or image generators. It is a strategic technology that can shape military planning, intelligence analysis, cyber defense, surveillance, industrial production, finance, and even influence operations. In other words, whoever leads in AI does not just win in tech. They gain leverage in economics, national security, and global influence. That is why the US is treating this as more than a business dispute. It is being framed as a national security emergency. The concern from Washington is simple. If Chinese firms can absorb American innovation without paying the cost of years of research, the US could lose its edge faster than many people realize. What Washington is alleging. According to the US House China Committee's April 2026 report, China's strategy is a two-track approach. By what it can, steal what it must. That report says China still lawfully obtains large volumes of advanced chips, while also using smuggling networks and industrial-scale fraud to extract frontier capabilities from American AI developers. The allegations do not stop there. Lawmakers and investigators are also focusing on distillation attacks, where Chinese companies repeatedly query US AI models, collect outputs, and use them to train rival systems. In plain English, it is like using a tutor's answers to build your own exam-winning textbook. That is why some US officials argue this is not normal competition. It is industrial espionage adapted for the AI age. Segment 3. The DeepSeek effect. A lot of this fear intensified after the rise of Chinese AI model DeepSeek. Reuters reported earlier that Trump administration officials described DeepSeek as potentially built with stolen US technology and advanced American semiconductors. Since then, DeepSeek has become a symbol in Washington of how fast Chinese AI systems might be advancing and how much of that progress could be linked to borrowed or stolen know-how. The congressional investigation says allegations of Chinese distillation attacks gained momentum after DeepSeek's R1 reasoning model launched in January 2025. OpenAI and Microsoft later alleged that DeepSeek had stolen components of ChatGPT, while other experts argued that parts of Google's Gemini model may also have been copied through distillation methods. Whether every allegation is proven in court or not, the message from Washington is clear. The AI race is now also a theft prevention race. The insider threat. One of the most alarming parts of this story is the insider angle. U.S. authorities have already brought cases involving people accused of smuggling AI chips or stealing AI trade secrets. In one major case, former Google software engineer Linwei Ding was convicted in January 2026 of economic espionage and theft of trade secrets after being found guilty of stealing more than 2,000 pages of Google AI-related material. That matters because it proves the threat is not only external hackers or shady import networks. Sometimes the risk comes from someone already inside the building. That is why the US AI industry is now tightening cooperation. OpenAI, Anthropic, and Alphabet announced they would share information related to Chinese-linked industrial espionage through the Frontier Model Forum. That is a major shift because these are firms that normally compete hard with one another. When rivals start sharing intelligence, you know the threat has become serious. Why this is bigger than chips? At first glance, many people think the AI contest is just about chips. And yes, chips are crucial. Without enough advanced semiconductors, training frontier AI models becomes much harder. But this dispute is really about the whole ecosystem. Chips, cloud access, trade secrets, model weights, training methods, and the data pipelines that make AI work. The House report argues that America and its allies still control key choke points that will determine China's AI future. That means export controls, supply chain restrictions, and cloud security rules could all become part of the same strategic battle. So this is not just about whether China can buy one chip or one server rack. It is about whether China can systematically replicate the architecture of American AI innovation without paying the same cost. The global stakes. This story also matters far beyond Washington and Beijing. Why? Because AI tools built from stolen or copied technology do not stay local. The House report and other policy analyses warn that Chinese AI capabilities can be transferred to foreign actors and hostile regimes. That means the consequences could spread to cyber attacks, surveillance systems, military applications, and weapons platforms in countries aligned against the US. In other words, a stolen model in one country can become a strategic weapon somewhere else. This is why policymakers are not using soft language anymore. They're talking about theft, sabotage, and industrial espionage because they believe the stakes are that high. What the US is doing. So how is Washington responding? First, the US is tightening export controls on AI chips and related equipment. Second, lawmakers are pushing penalties against model extraction and query copy tactics, which they say should be treated as industrial espionage. Third, federal agencies and AI companies are trying to coordinate more closely to detect suspicious behavior sooner. The Trump administration is also being pushed to turn these warnings into a broader industrial and national security strategy. The logic is simple. If the U.S. does not protect its frontier models, its trade secrets, and its chip supply chain, the AI advantage could erode much faster than expected. Closing analysis. At the end of the day, this story is not really just about China, and it is not really just about AI. It is about the kind of world we are entering. In the old era, power belonged to the country with the biggest army, the biggest oil reserves, or the strongest navy. In the new era, power may belong to the country that can build, protect, and weaponize the smartest machines on Earth. And that means the fight over AI is no longer happening quietly in research labs. It is happening in courtrooms, in Congress, in export control offices, in cybersecurity briefings, and in diplomatic warnings between the world's two biggest powers. So the real question is this: are we watching the rise of the next great technology rivalry, or the beginning of a much larger struggle over who controls the future? If this is what the AI race looks like now, the next chapter is going to be even more intense.